You know what? It's summertime, and I really need to start thinking about my winter body. I mean, how else am I supposed to brag about my abs under several winter coats? The only problem is that going outside is overrated. I mean, really, I want to spend my summer inside playing games with the blinds shut, staring at screens with Mario on it. Bingo.
Sports games have been around since the dawn of time. The Bible mentions Mario Strikers at least twice, and that game didn't come out until 2005. I mean, it was a no-brainer. Why play or watch the sport when you can somehow do both? Sports games have been adapted into many defining genres. You got realism, you got simplified, and you got the answer to the prophecies. Mascot-based sports games. Now, while team sports have mascots, none of them got Mario now, do they? This kind of genre was seen all the way back to the Super Nintendo era, with titles like Mega Man Soccer, taking beloved franchises and making them do whatever this is. But as time evolved and video games became more complex, somebody came up with the idea of, hey, what if Mario Golf?
I haven't slept in weeks thinking about that, Don. It scares me. I mean, there's no telling to what I would do if I saw Mario at a golf club.
The Mario sports games. Starting off on the N64 with Mario Tennis, it still continues today with Disappointment Part 2, and hey, that doesn't look too bad. The Mario sports games mainly boil down to you playing your average sports title, whether that be tennis, golf, or soccer, but adding a twist to it. The Mario sports games always found a way to spice up whatever sport you were playing, and they were always really fun. But around the GameCube era of home consoles, they decided to get a little bit more experimental with the sports, and overall, see what they could really do with them. Some of the best titles came out of this, like Mario Power Tennis and Mario Golf Toadstool Tour. I think it's safe to say that we'll never get games like these again. They are a product of their time, where Nintendo was willing to get wacky with the Mario property. And you know what they say, you get experimental when making first-party titles for the GameCube, and then you give up once you release the Wii.
It's a common saying, I swear, but the Mario sports games didn't just end at the GameCube. No, they kept going, just not in the way you think. You'd think they would get more abstract and wacky with the ideas, add more variety into the gameplay, but instead, they just went plain vanilla.
Just basic average sports titles. Mario Tennis Open and Ultra Smash didn't have too much to offer in terms of interesting ideas. Toadstool Tour was the last golf game for a while, and Strikers was the only one of its kind, and even that got a sequel, but really, that was it. They had a baseball game, but I don't know, the charm and magic of these titles offered was just not there anymore. Like, why? When did Mario sports games get so normal? Well, I think I know the answer to that. Who remembers this game?
I never hear anyone talk about this game, but it's one of the more interesting cases of playing it safe and trying new things. And come on, it's a no-brainer. Put a Mario sports game on the handheld everyone and their mother-in-law bought. But it begs the question, why basketball?
I think it's because this title was developed by Square Enix. They would later go on to develop Mario Sports Mix for the Wii, and that's all they're known for. They probably went with basketball because series like tennis and golf were made by other developers, so they had to pick a new sport. I can get behind the idea. I wonder what kind of wacky antics this game gets into.
It's basketball!
This doesn't look like most Mario sports titles, it just looks like a sport with Mario in it. But unlike NBA Street V3, this is more than just your average basketball game. For one, the controls are interesting to say the least. Instead of using all button controls like a normal game, Hoops 3-on-3 uses the D-pad and touch controls, meaning you are swiping on the touchscreen to make your shots. That's fine, I guess, but sometimes the movements that I want to do get confused, like instead of passing the ball, I instead try to make a shot. Go on. Now, the game itself has something that makes basketball a bit more interesting. You got item boxes on the ground that you can use to collect coins with, and if you tap to dribble on the boxes, you can gain more coins. When you have more coins, you'll score more points for every basket you make. When you don't have the ball, however, and you're on the defensive side, you can use the items to trip up your opponents and steal the ball from them. I like this. It makes the game a little bit more chaotic and more interesting, but also, it's so damn hard to grab the ball back from your opponents.
Now you see, kids, here we're dealing with one of the many things that can sometimes go unrecognizable, but is in most games regardless. Do you know what that is?
Unfair CPU advantage!
How the f*** did you know that?
The CPUs in this game can just magically be well-rounded and good at the game. Things that just take time, like swapping characters, can almost take nothing for them to do. Slapping the ball out of their hands doesn't work, aerial attacks don't really work too much, and if you don't have an item, you're never getting the ball back. It double sucks because they can easily grab the ball back from you! How do you measure unfairness in a video game? You look at the CPUs and see if they can get away with things you can't.
Oh, wait a minute. I think there's a song for this. It's bullshit!
The game has a variety of modes, ranging from the only one you'll actually play to the others. Why is the tourney the second option and not the first? The challenges are basically your tutorials, and well, they go on for too long. I swear, this game isn't self-explanatory, and yet I feel like I knew everything out of the gate. When you play the first time, the tutorials start automatically, but they do leave out the special shot, which you can do. Each character has their own special shot they can do, but good luck knowing about that if you didn't immediately go back to the tutorials after the tutorial! What kind of game design is that?
It's time to learn, motherfuckers! Oh,
You can also do this race to collect 100 coins in a short amount of time. It sucks, but it's still there. The tourney is essentially your tournament, and this is the single-player campaign of the game. You go up against other teams of 3 in hopes of crushing their dreams. That's right. You, Mario. I like this character selection screen. All the sprites are so simple, yet effective. And look, I can almost write out my name with them. There are a total of 4 cups you gotta complete, and you unlock them as you go along. I played all of them in one sitting and somehow developed PTSD. The difficulty just increases out of nowhere. Like at one point, CPUs don't go near you, and at other points, they're pulling shit off that I can't even do. Like, why? It's just difficult at points, and it doesn't feel fair at all. However, when you do beat a cup, you are more than likely to unlock a few things, like new costumes and characters. I also really enjoy these courts. Each have their own gimmick to them. Blue Cheap Sea is underwater, Daisy Garden has PD Piranhas as the hoops, and Mario Stadium is boring as f***. These are all great to play on. The further you get in the tourney, the more interesting and wacky the courts get. And while it is very hard, I still happen to beat the Rainbow Cup and take my trophy, baby!
what the f*** is going on? This isn't Final Fantasy, this is Mario Basketball! If I wanted to play Final Fantasy, I'd check myself into a mental hospital.
I mean, it is a Square-developed game, so might as well put some characters from Final Fantasy in there. Except I don't know if this is Final Fantasy. The only other Square game I played was But yeah, you can face off against Square Enix characters, and if you beat them, you get to play as them. I know there's more to unlock, but I'd rather eat a plate of mayo than go back to playing the tourneys.
That's not to say it's a bad mode, more that it's repetitive, really. I mean, the courts switch, but the game and its rules don't change at all. And it really feels like the game lacks in content for that. Oh, it's just so thick.
But there's still plenty of it. You have multiplayer modes including download play, but silly challenges and a gameplay style that gets old fast is not really fun, nor does it stick. The older Mario sports games were remembered because they're wacky experimentation, and while this game tries to capture that, it also gets so close and doesn't hit the mark. I think with each new basketball game that you played, if something new was changed about the rules, some courts only letting you score a certain way, and even more power-ups for having the ball, that style of gameplay would have been way more fun, but here, it's the same thing over and over again, and it just gets kind of plain.
And that's why I say this is the start to mediocre Mario sports games. It focuses on the game and the rules rather than how to innovate and build upon it. While the game has really good art and music and it gets so close to those Mario sports games that we love, at last, it doesn't. It just misses the mark. Unlike me though, I never miss a shot. Watch this. Joke's on you, that was my car! And I was renting it.